Imagine a world where the United States is no longer reliant on foreign countries for its semiconductor needs. A world where national security and financial feasibility go hand in hand, thanks to strategic customer co-investment in companies like Intel. This may seem like a distant dream, but the reality is that the U.S. semiconductor industry is at a critical juncture, and the next few years will determine its fate. For decades, global chip production has shifted to Asia, leaving the U.S. vulnerable to supply chain disruptions and geopolitical risks. However, a unique opportunity has arisen, driven by a combination of policy, private sector ambition, and national security imperatives, to reverse this trend and revive U.S. advanced chip manufacturing. At the center of this transformation is Intel, a company poised to reclaim its position as a global semiconductor leader through a $40 billion customer-led capital infusion, bolstered by federal incentives and strategic partnerships. But here's where it gets interesting. This investment is not just about Intel's future. It's about the future of American technology leadership and its economic and security foundations. The case for strategic co-investment is clear. Intel's recent $100 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing, supported by $7.86 billion in direct funding from the CHIPS and Science Act and a $3 billion Secure Enclave contract, has already laid the groundwork for a domestic semiconductor renaissance. However, the company's ambitions extend beyond government-backed projects. A $40 billion customer-led infusion, driven by partnerships like its multi-year, multi-billion-dollar collaboration with Amazon Web Services, AWS, could accelerate Intel's transition from a foundry laggard to a leader in advanced chip manufacturing. This model, where end users share the financial burden of R&D and manufacturing, reduces risk for Intel while ensuring critical infrastructure remains insulated from foreign vulnerabilities. And this is the part most people miss. The financial feasibility of such a bold investment is further amplified by policy frameworks like the CHIPS Act and proposed protectionist tariffs. The Biden-Harris administration's $7.86 billion award to Intel, combined with a 25% investment tax credit, has already unlocked over $100 billion in private sector commitments. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump's proposed 100% tariffs on imported semiconductors, exempting companies that invest in U.S. manufacturing, add another layer of incentive. These policies create a dual advantage: cost mitigation, where federal subsidies and tax credits reduce the effective cost of capital-intensive projects like Intel's 18A node development, and market protection, where tariffs would penalize competitors reliant on foreign manufacturing, giving Intel a competitive edge in both commercial and defense markets. For example, TSMC's $100 billion Arizona investment, a move to secure tariff exemptions, highlights how protectionist policies are reshaping the industry. Intel, with its existing U.S. footprint and government contracts, is uniquely positioned to leverage these dynamics. But what about national security? The urgency of this moment cannot be overstated. The U.S. government's reliance on foreign chip makers for critical infrastructure, defense systems, and AI applications has created a strategic vulnerability. Intel's Secure Enclave program, which will produce government-grade semiconductors in secure U.S. facilities, directly addresses this risk. By expanding this model through customer co-investment, Intel can ensure that leading-edge chips for both commercial and defense applications are manufactured domestically. Moreover, the CHIPS Act's workforce development initiatives, $65 million allocated to training programs and childcare support, underscore the long-term sustainability of this strategy. A skilled domestic workforce is essential to maintaining U.S. leadership in semiconductor innovation, particularly as the industry transitions to complex 3D packaging and AI-specific architectures. So why now is the critical window? Investors and policymakers must act swiftly to capitalize on this inflection point. The window of opportunity is narrow. Geopolitical risks, such as tensions with China and Taiwan's precarious geopolitical position, threaten global chip supplies, making domestic production no longer a luxury but a necessity. Technological momentum, with Intel's 18A nodes set to launch in 2025, represents a critical step toward regaining process technology leadership. Delaying investment risks ceding this progress to rivals. Market dynamics, with the AI and cloud computing sectors growing exponentially, mean that a $40 billion infusion would enable Intel to meet surging demand while securing long-term partnerships with hyperscalers like AWS. Now, let's talk about investment implications and strategic recommendations. For investors, the alignment of policy, capital, and national security creates a compelling case for Intel. The company's stock has already benefited from its CHIPS Act funding and AWS partnership, but a $40 billion customer-led infusion could unlock even greater value. Key metrics to monitor include revenue from foundry services, R&D efficiency, and government contract expansion. Policymakers, meanwhile, should prioritize tariff enforcement, ensuring protectionist policies incentivize domestic production without stifling global trade. Public-private partnerships, expanding CHIPS Act funding to support mid-tier chipmakers and regional innovation clusters, and supply chain diversification, encouraging collaboration between Intel, AWS, and other tech giants to reduce reliance on single-source manufacturing. In conclusion, the revival of U.S. advanced chip manufacturing is not just an economic imperative, it's a national security necessity. Intel's strategic partnerships, federal support, and customer co-investment model offer a blueprint for achieving this goal. A $40 billion infusion, amplified by protectionist policies and aligned with the CHIPS Act, could reposition Intel as the cornerstone of a resilient, secure semiconductor ecosystem. For investors, the time to act is now. The future of American technology leadership and its economic and security foundations depends on it. But here's the question. Will the U.S. seize this opportunity, or will it let it slip away? The answer will have far-reaching consequences, not just for Intel, but for the entire U.S. economy and national security. We want to hear from you. Do you think the U.S. should prioritize domestic chip production? And how do you think this can be achieved? Share your thoughts in the comments below.